Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines we have for you. Cyber attacks, XRP ledger battle tested. We got FTX. How about USDC, Circle, and Ripple Swell? We got, don't forget about the digital dollar project sandbox. We're going to get into it. Ripple dominates Australia, but what about trade finance? You're going to want to see this. It's coming. What's left for the SEC versus Ripple? We're going to clear it up for you. And BlackRock says they got a $17 trillion earthquake coming. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, it's $1.13 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off by 0.1%. Good morning, everyone. We got a call to action for you this morning. Hang in there. We're going to need your help, everybody. 27,700 plus for Bitcoin, 1633 and change for Ethereum. Tether market cap 83.3 billion plus. Number 5 spots 52-cent XRP, off by 0.5 on the 24-hour, up by 1.9 on the 7-day. But take a look at this. Digital asset investor, his handle on X is at digital asset buy. Please tag politely X support and at Elon Musk and retweet at support so we can help him get his account back. There's no reason why his account should be suspended, and it was wrongfully suspended, and we need to help him get it back. So please make that polite engagement on the social media platform. Retweet it, share it, tell everyone. This is what we do for a living, guys. So, we need to really get out here and make sure we get his account back. We all know we don't engage negatively on social media. He doesn't do it. I don't do it. Right. But the reality is that sometimes this happens. Sometimes it's a mistake. And I'm sure that that's what it is here. But let's all give him a hand and do what we can to get his account back on Twitter. No doubt. Right here, I want to remind you, just recently we saw MGM Resorts refuse to pay ransom in cyber attacks on casino. And I shared with you at that time when it happened. First of all, shout out and major props to MGM. Refused to pay ransom, and I love that. Don't pay those people nothing. You go through whatever you got to go through, and they did, and they're back up and running. Shout out to MGM Grand. You don't let the bad guys win. Right? You might take a hit and go down on a knee, but you don't let them win, and they came back. But you know what? I said at the time when it happened that it concerned me because the cynical side of me says, boy, casinos are really hard to break into, probably even harder than some banks, I would imagine, because of the money they deal with on a daily basis. And I was like, wow, the cynical side is like, is this like a test run for these, cyber attack criminals that are trying to figure out how to do something? We know that there's been threats to attack the banking system in the United States because of the Ukraine conflict. It really does concern me, but shout out to MGM for getting back on. I can't play this trailer because I'm worried about a copyright strike, but the reality is Netflix has a movie coming out with Julia Roberts and others. It's just unbelievable, and it's about a cyber attack across the country. Well, this is why I have Glint Pay, so I can have my MasterCard debit card tied directly to my gold, right? And hopefully that can help me. And I also use Miles Franklin, so I can have gold in my hand, right? Listen, you can get the best prices of gold, and I'm not trying to scare you. This is stuff we need to be thinking about. And the time to think about it isn't when the map's red and everybody's been shut down. The time to think about it is now, before something like that happens. And if it doesn't, you still have gold. What's wrong with that? This is the best place to get gold, physical gold right here. It's precious metals, and you could do it at the best prices if you use the code and tell them that I sent you. Brad Kimes from Digital Perspectives, and use the code DIGGOLD, D-I-G gold. Call the number underneath the video, and I tell you, tell them I sent you. They're going to love hearing from you. And here's what makes me feel good about XRP Ledger with the idea of some kind of a cyber attack or just the antiquated, vulnerable system that exists in our traditional financial system, right? The payment rails are old. They're antiquated. It's 83 million ledgers closed, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is on the XRP ledger. Yeah, it was 70-some million back when we did XRP Las Vegas. Now at 83 million ledgers closed, battle-tested, never compromised. That's a combination that I could live with for a long time. XRP, the XRP ledger, and physical gold. Yeah, I'm loving that. Some FTX employees in the U.S. knew about the backdoor and the exchange that allowed Alameda Research to withdraw billions in customer funds. According to Wall Street Journal report, this is what's coming out. You know, we had co-conspirators were going to testify against old Sam Bankman fraud. And we just need to make sure we get everybody that was complicit in this in jail, right? That's what we need to make sure of. They need to all go to jail because it's really, really nasty. Think about the people who are still harmed and have not been made whole from this. This isn't funny, right? And God knows how many people may have hurt themselves when it first happened to them. And I hope no one, but I fear that is not the case. Now, this is an old clip. It's 43 seconds. I'm going to set the tone for you because you're going to get into something that's going to make you feel real good. This is Christine Lagarde when she was the IMF managing director talking about banks and businesses being cannibalized if they don't adapt to the new technology that is out here. Then she cites Ripple and Circle, and you're about to see why we're showing it again in just 1 second.
But it will be between those who are cannibalized because they are not seeing it coming and they're not embracing it, and those who self-induce that cannibalization. And I'm using cannibalization on purpose because it's a bit of a striking, horrible word, but it's really what it means. It's you're going to disrupt your business model, you're going to change it, you're going to reduce your cost, you're going to expedite your transactions, and you're going to continue to inspire confidence because you will build that on the basis of an existing backbone, which is your bank and the confidence relationship that you've established with your customers. So that's where I see changes happening now. If you think of Circle and Ripples and all those, that's where they are active and helpful. But it will be between those who are cannibalized because they are not seeing it coming and they're not embracing it, and those who self-induce that cannibalization. And I'm using cannibalization on purpose because it's a bit of a striking, horrible word.
I wanted to hear her say it again because it is a striking and horrible word. And that is, at the time, the managing director at the IMF using such a striking and horrible word. That's how intentful, or how much intent she's bringing to it, right? Just how literal she's being, because that's how big it is. And you're talking about Ripple and Circle being mentioned as a solution. Well, the reason I'm showing you that is because I've wanted for Ripple and Circle to partner. It seems a bit more likely now that Miriam from Circle will be speaker at Swell in November. Shout out to Anders for this. Remember last year's Swell, MasterCard were a speaker. Then we found out they were working with Ripple on CBDCs. They sure were. And there's Miriam right there who's going to be a speaker at Swell. Come on in. Yeah. And don't forget about the Digital Dollar Project CBDC sandbox program that's going on right now. And we know that Ripple is right in the middle of it all. This is extremely, extremely exciting, ladies and gentlemen. And we know MasterCard's participating in that too, if my memory serves me correctly on that. So this all really is coming together from where I'm sitting. Now, let's go across the globe a little bit. Ripple now dominates Australian crypto exchange volumes. We've known this for a while. We reported on this earlier in the year. They have deep ties in Australia, and they may have just gotten a bit deeper here. This is really great news. Ripple came to us and explained their offering to me and a group of major bank representatives. Because of the court case, we didn't proceed. But now that the court case is over, we will be following up with Ripple to enable cross-border payments. This is Paul Zalai, I believe it is, director of FTA, which is a trade alliance. And I want you to hear this clip.
Notice.
Right.
And again, I'm not an expert on it, but I understand they approached us some time ago. But at the time, they were battling some legal battle in the US.
Yes.
And our position to them was, look, come back to us once that's sorted out, because you only get one chance at a first impression. And if this court case doesn't go well for you, it wasn't good. So anyway, they got a good result in the US court case, and they approached us again. And look, we're going to have a bit more of a look at it. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on it, but we may look to promote their product, and again, it'll be buyer beware. We'll say to our members, look, here's this new technology. From what I can understand, it can generate real-time transfer of payments, and they seem to have a lot of checks and balances in place. At the briefing that I was at where I did that post, there was a lot of representatives from the major banks that were very interested in it. So it is a real thing.
That's right.
But how that translates to meaningful solutions for our members, we'll only understand that in a bit more time.
I think I've got a little bit more understanding of Ripple because I have been following the Ripple case since got into the dramas with the financial bodies in the US. That period of time for Ripple, it was when the whole world was still trying to grappling with the idea of what blockchain was and all that sort of stuff, and because you're really going outside of the banking system, right? And anything that goes out of the banking system, the governments don't like it, because they can't see it. But Ripple's difference compared to all the other blockchains is that other blockchains is a decentralized model, which means that no one party controls it, whereas Ripple is a centralized model. So they want regulation. They want to basically plug into the government system and use blockchain as a technology by way of payments getting transferred in an instant manner. When I saw you sort of talking to Ripple, and I was like, oh, because I haven't followed their case lately, I didn't know whether they had a positive outcome or negative outcome, but the fact that you were talking to them, I thought they must have had a positive outcome. And then if their payment system are launching here in Australia or are offering as a legitimate commercial business offer, it's very interesting. It'd be very interesting for the likes of me as well.
Listen to this last half.
Because it will make cross-border payments and so forth a lot more efficient. It'd be very interesting to see what the fees they will charge. I'm sure you'll probably get some of those details. But do share it with us when you get that information. What's the next step with them?
Oh, look, really, the group came and presented down here at the waterfront here at Sydney Harbour, but they were all Singapore-based, and so they were doing a bit of a roadshow here to start getting their branding out.
And that's what they're doing. And they're from the Singapore base, right? That's where they came from to do the road show, as it is, as he called it, right? And look, this is exciting to me. For one, God bless the guy, I think it's Le Chang there, who got it wrong about Ripple being centralized. We forgive him. The reality here is, for me, is that we know that Singapore just awarded the biggest operating license for Ripple to move forward with digital assets and businesses in Singapore, and then they're over in Australia basically showing them what's about to work so well in Singapore could work here in Australia too. It's not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. You build it out from where you've got the success. This is extremely exciting to me. We already know that Ripple has a deep presence in Australia to begin with, so very exciting. Then there's this. Let's think about the macro of this for the market. Let's assume that utility for XRP doesn't come into play for this particular conversation, because ultimately we are in a speculator's market, right? That's what drives price at this point. Bitcoin dominance rules the day. It is the dominant crypto in the space, and that's great. We have no problem with that. But when utility makes its way into the market, it will be utility as the price driver for certainly XRP at some point, and not speculation, which will be extremely healthy. And that's a moment I am very eager to see happen for XRP, the digital asset. But BlackRock has told us about the $17 trillion earthquake that could be about to hit the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. And it is because they have all the large players in the space have applied for the Bitcoin spot ETFs, right? And we know that even a recent $1.5 trillion asset manager, Franklin Templeton, has joined the crew along with BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco, Galaxy, Wisdom Tree, and others, right? So this is something to watch, because this isn't really, I wouldn't say utility, right? But it's just demand. Because if you get the ETF, people will be able to get exposure to these assets without having to physically hold them the way all of us do. And they will be inside of a regulatory framework as an investor because they're investing in an exchange-traded fund, which already has a set of rules to protect investors, which will create an even bigger demand to have exposure to these assets without having to become what we are, right? Which is speculators holding the physical asset itself. This could also create an enormous demand to hold the asset, because then you're talking about buying, because if they're going to have an ETF, they're going to have to buy all the Bitcoin themselves, the BlackRocks and the Fidelities of the world, to back up what's in the fund. This is going to create scarcity and demand, right? And that can put an enormous amount of pressure. But let us not forget, because also to accompany that is a halving. Now, they have said that they're thinking about, and I'm going to go back to this, but the halving comes April 25th of 2024. If we go into this, we know that basically what has been said here is that instead of completely rejecting the whole list of applicants, they've asked for comments, which is marginal but significant improvement in the dialogue. Meanwhile, the SEC has been instructed by U.S. lawmakers to re-examine crypto asset manager Grayscale application as well to convert its flagship Bitcoin trust to a fully fledged Bitcoin spot ETF. Now, again, this could go into next year. They've talked about pushing this into next year, but they haven't denied anybody because they said, pointed to a recent decision by the SEC to delay until early next year at the latest. So if they combine this approval of all of these big boys at the same time that the halving happens, which in history past has proved an enormous jump in Bitcoin price, boy, you could have the makings for a real explosion in this market that doesn't even account for utility of XRP, right? And what happens after the halving in history past is usually after a handful of weeks or months, you see the altcoins respond after Bitcoin has a big run. So if we don't see utility and we see the approval of the ETFs and this halving as it happens in history past, this market by sometime next year could be going to the moon, as they say. And one more thing before we get out of here, just to clear this up about the case with the SEC versus Ripple. The SEC cannot appeal Ripple Labs' decision, the judge has ruled. And the reality of this is, for anyone who's confused, is the only thing left for trial is for them to go to trial over Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson individually. Jeremy Hogan sets the record straight. No, they can't appeal the part about XRP not being a security. Come on in. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.